feel the suffering, we see the terrible atrocities, the genocide that is being committed now in Gaza, and then actually has been occurring for now over 60 years, and it's 100 years basically since a movement, a purely political, flawed movement called Zionism, which is a nationalism to have a piece of land. It has gone and decided with a flawed logic and a selfish agenda to take the land of Palestine. It's getting the respectability of the world and the credence of the world simply because it is using the Jewish identity, it is using the Bible, it has stolen the Star of David, and calling itself the State of Israel. In other words, it's using the Jewish nation, the Judaism, as a tool in order to oppress and subjugate the people of Palestine.
We are Israeli conscientious objectors. That means we refuse to serve in the Israeli army.
Because they are occupying another people, the Palestinians.
Palestinian kids can't go to school because of checkpoints.
Or even get health care.
Many young Palestinians go to prison for no reason.
A lot of them have been killed.
Or their homes demolished.
The government says this policy is keeping us safe.
But denying Palestinians their basic human rights put us all in danger.
It's illegal.
It's wrong.
It's immoral.
It's against my personal beliefs.
It's against my basic values.
It's against my values.
That is why we are conscientious objectors.
That's why we're conscientious objectors.
That's why we're conscientious objectors.
That's why I'm a conscientious objector. We are Shministim.
We are Shministim.
We are Shministim.
I am a Shministit.
We're being jailed for refusing to serve in the army.
We need your support.
Please sign the letter.
And tell all your friends.
Palestinians, Israeli, Jews, Muslims, Christians, atheists, everyone.
We all need to stand together.
Against violence, against repression, no matter who does it.
Take a stand with us for peace,
coexistence,
and real future for children like us, everywhere.
Sign the letter today.
Sign the letter today.
Please sign the letter today.
Please sign the letter today.
When I was growing up, I believed in war heroes and dying for a piece of land and everything for my brothers and sisters here, the Jewish community in Israel. I wanted to be a soldier until I was like 17 or something. I was sure that that's okay, but when I was really small, I always cared about human rights, and my dream when I was like 8 was to be at Amnesty International and all those things. But I only awoke when I was about 16, 17, that all of those things I've been told in the education system and in my family and everywhere, you know, my friends, and it's everywhere in Israel. So maybe I should double check them. Maybe not everything is as I thought it was.
At what moment did you decide that you weren't going to do military service? Because everyone in Israel does. When did you decide, no, this isn't for me?
I was in the West Bank in a village called Shufa. I went there with a group called Combatants for Peace, which are ex-IDF soldiers and ex-Fatah people that decide to combat together for peace and not each other. And I went with them to this village in the West Bank. The Israeli army just put a checkpoint in the middle of the village for no reason, just to make it difficult for the people to cross, and we wanted to take it off. So they start shooting at us like crazy, and I didn't understand, like, is this the army all of my life I've been told is protecting me, now shooting at me? My whole idea of what they are is just vanished in like a couple of days.
Was it still a hard decision to refuse to join?
Of course it's hard, because in Israel, when you're born, you're a soldier to be, and your brothers and your sisters are soldiers, and your parents and your grandparents. It's not something that's far away from you. It's your best friends and it's your ex-boyfriend. I don't know, it's like, and when you challenge them and when you tell them in the face and in public like I did that you contempt them for doing that, for executing war crimes every day, they attack you personally. Although you don't do it, I didn't do it personally, you know. My opinions and my views are against using violence, not against my best friend who's, you know, just making coffee for this commander.
So how did you actually refuse? How did you say no?
You have a date for recruitment. Mine was in September, and I showed with a demo of like 100 people supporting me. I got in and I refused to recruit. So they took me to this judge, and before he judged me, he talked to me and he said, like, I believe you can change the system from the inside, and, you know, things like that. You can stand in a checkpoint and give little children toffee. And I said that it doesn't matter if I give them toffee or not. I'm not supposed to be there because in the end I'm not letting them pass. And then I told him, you know, don't talk to me about changing the system from inside because you're a very important general and you're still doing something against your will. So he got angry and sentenced me to the longest time of, you know, from our group.
It sounds pretty courageous. Did your family know you were going to refuse?
Yeah. My mom supported me all along. Like, she knew my opinions, and I started going like 2 times or 3 times a week to the West Bank and demo there. They knew I was doing political work already, and my father, it took me a long time to tell him, but, you know, it's my life. And he was very angry. It's very different from the path he chose. It is very hard for him, still.
Did you know that you were risking your relationship with your father when you made this decision to refuse to enlist?
I knew it, but I thought if I can overcome him being a militant, you know, army man, so he can overcome me being a pacifist and a refuser. I knew I have to go with my heart because I'm going to live with myself, you know. I didn't want to regret for the rest of my life being a part of a system that is so wrong and so illegal and doing awful things.
You faced some consequences for this decision, though. You've been in jail twice. What was it like?
It's one of the most meaningful periods of my life because you're alone, and when you're in a bad condition, because in jail you are in a bad condition, so everything, you know, every issue you have is very strong, and it comes out.
So your decision has gotten a lot of attention from the media in Israel and around the world. Your dad's involved in the Israeli intelligence agencies, and you've been in jail twice. Has this made you a target for people who are strongly opposed to your refusal?
Of course, I even got attacked on live TV a week ago, but it was scary. I was hiding behind the cameraman. But you have to understand that this is something I deal with every day, and from a strange man, it's not that painful. Like from your family and from your friends, that's the hardest thing. I can tell you I have close relationships that were disconnected after my public refusal. Not from my side, from other people's side, because they're entitled to talk about their army story and boot camp story, and I'm not entitled to say anything about jail because, you know, my decision is wrong.
My government, at the same time that people are being killed on our side, is continuing this crazy assault, thinking that they can kill the desire of millions of people to be free. It's completely insanity.
The argument your government has, Tzivi Livni, was saying that it's extremists responsible, a small number granted, but every rocket that's fired out of Gaza into Israel must be stopped, and this is an act of defense.
Yeah, and the Palestinians will say the same thing, that this is an act of defense. They are being trapped in this open-air prison for decades, and They cannot eat, they cannot have medicine, they cannot go in, they cannot go out. We lock them there in a big ghetto, and we have to put the words in a very clear context. We are locking this 1.5 million people for so long, and we treat them as animals, and this is the result.
First, I'll give you as quote my Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Israel that said that the public opinion in the U.S. is the most powerful weapon that the IDF has, or that Israel has.
Most of the missions that my unit was given and carried out were arrest operations, search operations, going into taking over cities or towns or villages, of course in the nighttime, and sometimes you would continue in the same place for a few days, searching, going one house to the other, searching them, taking over houses as observation points, or arresting people. And that's your routine. My routine was, or our routine was, that we never knew where we're going to be from one minute to the other. One night we could be in Nablus, the next night we could be in Gaza, the next night we could be in Hebron. And at a certain point you just lose track of where you are, who you are, and what you're doing, because you disrupt people's lives on a daily basis. And for me that was the most, I think when I look at it today, when I reflect on it today, as someone who couldn't do that during your service, because you can't really, you live in a denial way of life where you can't look at what you're doing, you can't really reflect on it. But when I reflect on it today from this perspective, I can say that that was probably for me the deepest example of corruption. Not the extreme cases where there was shooting or stuff like that, but just thinking that there were hundreds of thousands of families that couldn't have one peaceful night of sleep in their homes. I mean, who in today in the USA, in Israel, and anywhere else would be willing to live like that, not knowing if at 2 o'clock in the morning 20 soldiers will take over your house for a week, not knowing, sitting in your living room and suddenly hearing smashing on the wall, and there is a hole in the wall, and suddenly 20 soldiers come to visit. And for me that was routine.
Response might surprise you because she is Jewish. Her name is Hetty Epstein, and she is also a Holocaust survivor. Hetty was a little girl living in Kippenheim, Germany, when Hitler came to power. In 1939, her parents sent her to safety to England. How your experiences, growing up in Nazi Germany and with the Holocaust shape how you view the world today?
I think it did shape me, and I know what it felt like to be persecuted, to be discriminated against. And so I guess because of that, I can't stand idly by when I see that other people are being hurt. The Syrians they don't have tanks, they don't have airplanes, they don't have the most recent military as the occupation. If the occupation were today.
Yes, several Jews have gotten together and issued a call to Jews in the city of New York. Show this is intolerable, we cannot take it anymore, we're heartsick in two respects. We're paying for it, and they supposedly are doing it for us, and we are not going to let them.